Markets to Watch, sponsored by Pagetrader.com, starts now.
Welcome back to the show, CEO Money. I'm your guest host, Grayson Armistead, and we're very happy to have back on the show Dave Williams with Pagetrader. Dave, how are you?
I'm doing great, and thank you for having me on. It's a real pleasure to be here with you today.
Well, I was glad that you could be with us. So, Dave, tell me a little bit about what's going on new with you and your company.
Well, a couple of things are happening. Of course, our main focus is on the stock market, gold, crude oil, the bond market, markets that a lot of people that are in business and who are investors are concerned about and want to try to profit from. So our business is to forecast with a very high degree of specificity what each of these different markets are going to do so that investors can have our forecast in hand and know exactly what the market should do under a set of conditions. So that's what we do. We've been here for 19 years. I would encourage people to read our trading disclaimer. Past performance is no indication of future performance, but we're certainly going to make every effort to make our future performance as good, if not better, than our past performance.
Absolutely. And describe for our listeners what your typical client looks like.
Our typical client is between 45 years old to maybe 70. And he is someone who has either been an entrepreneur or run his own business. Perhaps he did very well in working for someone else and has invested in the past and has been interested in markets in the past, maybe traded in markets in the past. And what they are usually excited about is that when we give them information, it's highly specific so that they can know. I'll give you, if I can, an example. All of our clients around the world last week knew that if the S&P 500, which is a very popular tradable instrument, if it closed last week on any day above $2,727 or $2,729, and it did on Friday, that they could buy the S&P because it would go up to $2,748 on Monday in the early session. So today is Monday, and the early session today made a high of $2,749.25. So investors that were in that trade knew exactly what to do and when to expect this profit target to be reached, which was today, early in today's session. And so those are the kinds of specific forecasts we give for gold, crude oil, bond market, S&P, and so on. And people love it. And we, like I say, we've been here for 19 years, and we love doing it. And we're hoping that some of your listeners who have an interest in these markets will come check us out at Pagetrader.com and see what it is that we can do for them.
Well, I think they would be very interested in doing that. And it sounds to me, in the previous times that you've been on the show, that you're more than willing to help investors that are maybe not have a daily finger or pulse on the market and help educate them in that direction.
No, we do. We have 2 times a year, we have a seminar over at the Mirage Hotel. We're located, our central office is here in Las Vegas. We have one in Massachusetts, and we have one in Spearfish, South Dakota. But our main office in Las Vegas, we cater to the Mirage. We go to the Mirage. We give our seminars there, and we teach people how we make these forecasts. And we have one of those coming up on September 8th and 9th here in Las Vegas at the Mirage later this year. That seminar is almost halfway sold out now by people who have seen what's possible to do with these markets in terms of forecasting them, and they want to learn for themselves how we're doing that. And so those are the more serious customers, but you don't have to go to a seminar. You can get our information and trade the information without having to know how it got generated. But for those that are more interested, they can certainly come to the seminar and be taught exactly what it is that we're doing. And that's what we do on September 8th and 9th of this year.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Dave, tell me a little bit about how you got started.
Well, it was a little serendipitous. I never had any interest personally in markets. I was not a numbers guy, over under guy. It just didn't resonate with me at all. In the very, very late 80s and early 90s, I had sold a business that had profited me, and I wanted to try to figure out how to put that money to work so that it had some result. I just didn't know what to do with it at the time. I was much younger.
Like most
And
of our listeners, that was their goal.
Maybe.
That's their goal as well.
Yes, absolutely. And I went to a brokerage. Back then it was Shearson Lehman. They're no longer around, but I met a very charismatic broker named Donovan who struck my interest, up in markets and how they work. And so he started me in markets, and I took an interest in it. And I very quickly, early on, realized that it was not an easy task to do markets. But I also found that I had sort of a very bland way of putting it would be a knack that showed up somewhat early for me. I mean, almost immediately, in at least seeing the market in a different way. I didn't realize that was happening because to me, that's the way I saw it. But I realized later that right from the start, I was looking at markets a little differently. And that difference is what helped me to develop over many, many years. And then finally, about 10 years later, I started Pagetrader, and that was in the year 2000. So I took about 10 years of practice and losses and gains and study to really try to understand how I saw the market. And I was able to develop enough to start the company in 2000. And then I've continued to grow and develop. My feeling is, and I've mentioned this to people in the past, that if you've done something for 20 years, but for those 20 years, you're really only doing what you learned in the first 2 years. You got up to a certain level, then you really only have 2 years worth of experience that you've been repeating for 20 years. You follow?
Yes, I absolutely follow.
Yeah, it's much more effective to continue to grow over a period of time. Not that every single, you reach a plateau and you stay there for a while, but it's important to make efforts to grow in your understanding of whatever your business is, and that's what we do here. And I do seriously look at markets and try to come up with new principles and ideas for markets. I'm really more of a researcher than I am anything else, but I've discovered some principles that have not been published before, and I'm able to really demonstrate those principles in the markets for our customers and to their benefit, and in so many cases to their delight. So that's how we've been here for 19 years is, people won't pay you for these types of services unless they're doing well. So,
well, Dave, thank you for that insight as to how you got started. I think that provides some really good insight for our listeners that might want to delve into the market. And we appreciate having you on the show.
My pleasure, as always. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Next time. Okay. Bye-bye.